Very long before they managed to get the world's largest passenger plane airborne. Now that the A380 has finally taken to the air, it's time to look at the interior of the Super Jumbo. After all, your normal passenger likes to be able to sit down while being flown around the world. And Lufthansa passengers certainly expect a certain amount of luxury. However, designing the interior of such a huge aircraft is not easy. 15 A380 aircraft are due to join the Lufthansa fleet. They are long overdue, but what's a few months more or less? After all, good things come to those who wait.
The new flagship makes its debut. It's October 2009 outside the Airbus plant in Toulouse. The Lufthansa A380 is waiting to take off for the first time. Its 3.5 million parts about to soar together through the sky. This is the big moment. It's airborne. Job number 1 has been accomplished. A few days later, the big bird is flying through the skies over Hamburg. There's tension on the ground as the first German A380 comes home to Germany. There are 3 seats on the plane, 2 for the test pilots and 1 for the engineer. But that's about to change. Once in the hangar, the airplane is turned into a giant construction site. One of the busiest people here is Axel Link. He's in charge of the interior. The Lufthansa A380 is, of course, new territory for him. He and his team work their way down, installing the overhead compartments as well as the ventilation and electrical systems first. Then it's time for quality control.
The customer will be here to do the inspection. If there are any problems, he'll write them up. If not, we'll get the all clear to start putting it together.
The customer is the man in the dark shirt, Lufthansa representative Heiner Krämer. He and his team make regular inspections to see how the money is being spent. These compartments need to be able to hold 35 kilos.
We want things to be the level of quality the passenger expects. Of course, the final inspection comes later. But it's great if things are the way they're supposed to be so far.
The plane costs around 300 million euros. Lufthansa pays the money in installments as the work proceeds. Each airline has its preferences, which complicates things. Airbus has 10 weeks to install the interior components of this A380 for Lufthansa. Subsequent models won't take as long. Axel Link has been called to the middle cabin section where his workers are making progress. The technician makes another check.
The oxygen is connected, and the inspectors will make sure everything's right, and the oxygen containers are correctly hooked up, and everything's well sealed. Then quality control gives the go-ahead, and we close it up. Hello. Where should I go? I'm in Zone 4.
It's a call from the cockpit. There, too, the time pressure never stops. Link has been summoned. 10 meters down on the hangar floor, Krämer moves on to the next issue. The business class seats have arrived. Here the passengers are allotted a full half meter, standard for this class. And not only that, the seats unfold into beds.
With all this space,
You can snore without bothering anybody.
Or if you know each other well, you can pull the divider down.
The interior alone is costing Lufthansa around 30 million euros. For that money, the airline expects a tailor-made product. If it's any different to company wishes, Kramer might have to renegotiate.
It's possible for some deviation to occur. That doesn't mean they'll necessarily drop the price, but there is some leeway in the negotiation process.
Axel Link goes up to talk to the French colleagues. Things are getting tight for the mechanics, who have to be finished with the interior by mid-January. And that doesn't even include the instrument panel in the cockpit.
While EADS was busy putting the finishing touches to its super jumbo A380, it failed to attract another highly prestigious project, the European satellite navigation system Galileo. Starting in 2013, Galileo will compete with the American GPS system. But instead of giving the nod to industry biggie EADS, the European Union has commissioned the much smaller space travel company OHB to build the 14 Galileo satellites. OHB who? Some of you may ask, and don't worry, you're not alone. OHB winning the multi-million-euro mega project was quite a sensation. In cooperation with Germany's leading financial daily Handelsblatt, we introduce you to OHB Otto Hydraulik Bremen.
And here they sit, the winners from the northern town of Bremen. Their boss, Fritz Merkler on the left, is visibly proud of his small team and its big achievement.
Again, a big thank you from the management.
All concerned worked hard for this moment.
It's all right, we survived, but speaking for the whole team, we really pushed it to the limit to compensate for the head start that Astrium had on us, and to make ourselves competitive and put together a good offer.
And you took it as a sporting challenge?
Sure, with plenty of ambition. And as a Bremen resident, you can say we like to win against Bayern.
It was a David versus Goliath victory against the conglomerate EADS. Little OHB, mid-sized and flexible, was simply less expensive. That's what it looks like, the satellite model for the Galileo navigation system, the European prestige project. Often on the brink of failure, now finally ready for the starting phase. 14 satellites for 566 million euros. Now, the family-owned company has to remind itself not to get too euphoric. The company's biggest ever contract is reaping applause from the whole region. Bremen is known not only for the fairy tale of the town musicians, but also now for aerospace prowess as well. Galileo is supposed to be more accurate than the US's GPS system and free from military control. OHB is now spearheading this huge, publicly funded EU project.
We're on a tight schedule. We have just a couple of years to build the satellites, which Arianespace will then put into orbit.
For the Galileo team, that means practically saying goodbye to their private lives. A mountain of work is waiting, even when the group's current 25 members grow to 100. Meanwhile, the bidding war with arch-rival EADS Astrium continues for an additional 14 satellites. The company is confident it can land that order too, right?
Well, I'd say we could discuss that later, but it could become a few units more. Of course, the satellites are being built successively, not all at once. And if we keep going with another 14, then I'd say that's something that could happen.
So, even if the little satellite builder from Bremen is reaching for the stars, it's still keeping its feet on the ground.
If you'd like to know more about the story, just go to the website of Germany's leading business daily at handelsblatt.com/DW or check out our own website at dwworld.de/English/Made in Germany. Now, some reach for the stars, others for the sun to convert its rays into energy on Earth. With climate change a big issue facing the world, there's a bigger push to invest in renewable energy instead of just relying on fossil fuels. Spain was long considered an El Dorado for the solar energy industry, but then it was hit by the financial crisis and the lavish government subsidies to companies exploring the new technology began drying up. So, after a boom year in 2008, when its output was even higher than its competitor Germany, with 2,500 megawatts produced by solar energy, it plunged to just 500. Where is Spain, which has just taken over EU presidency, heading in terms of renewable energy? Let's find out.
Standing tall and proud on his hilltop, the Osborne bull can weather any storm. But the country itself is less robust than its unofficial national symbol. Here on the coast of Andalusia, it's apparent that Spain is broke, and so are investors. The construction industry is in ruins. Ambitious projects such as this one have simply been abandoned. The solar market has also been feeling the heat. Investment dropped by almost 90% in the last year. Engineer Oscar Gonzalez has been in charge of this solar plant since it began operating a year ago. He works for the German company UV, which hasn't given up on the Spanish market, even though many others have. Gonzalez shows us around.
The display shows me the level of electricity production, how long the power inverter has been working, whether there was any kind of malfunction, what the output is. It's an efficient and simple way of seeing if the plant is operating as it should.
Gonzalez says 2008 was a boom year, when the number of solar plants built in Spain equaled 8 years' worth in Germany. But he says too many people tried to cash in, and the bubble soon burst, just as it did in the construction business. Slashed government subsidies and new building restrictions swept many players from the field, taking 25,000 jobs with them.
Obviously, if you compare the boom year 2008 with the current situation, it looks like a radical decline. But in fact, it means that the solar power sector needs to adapt, and then it will be able to grow again slowly and sustainably, pretty much as it has in Germany.
But the initial slump has been painful. Among those hardest hit was Spain's only manufacturer of solar cells. Isofoton's revenue fell by 50% last year, a result of a drop in demand and falling prices for cells and modules. Many workers were let go and production faltered. Francisco Rubinho is head of production, and he's not sorry to see the back of 2009. In the last 3 months, staff has been busy, and Rubinho is planning the company's entry into the German market.
We believe that is very important because it's also the most demanding market on the technological side, and we believe that if Isofoton is able to have an important activities in the German market, means that we will be able to sell in any market over the world.
Because German government still has subsidies for the solar energy.
Yes. But also in Spain there is subsidies. The subsidies are on a quite similar level of Germany, and we believe that the problem in Spain is related to the credit crunch of 2009.
Nevertheless, Isofoton has built a new production line for solar modules to the tune of 45 million euros, a lot of money in these cash-strapped times. But Rubinho says that the project had been in the pipeline for a while. The plant will begin operating in the spring. The solar modules are earmarked for export to France, Italy, and primarily Germany.
Why do you think you can sell these modules in Germany, where the market is already so competitive?
This line will give us a competitive advantage on cost side and on quality side, and also this line has been developed with a German partner.
Why on cost side?
cost side due to the reduction of labor by 75%, and on quality due to the integration of the automatic inspection inside the machines.
For the time being, the Isophoton engineers can breathe a sigh of relief.
And for more, I'm joined by Axel Nitschke from the German Chambers of Industry and Commerce. And solar energy, of course, is one of the best-selling export articles coming from Germany. That has been in the past the case. For how long will that be the case?
I guess for about 10 years. But it was not true for the last year, of course.
OK, so you're optimistic about the export prowess of Germany, despite those dropping figures that we've seen, especially over the last year, where in the third quarter exports dropped to the Ukraine, for example, by almost 50%, to the US down by more than 30%, to our neighbour France down almost 13%, and only exports to China increased by 14.5%, which is especially interesting, seeing that China, so a lot of people say, has now finally overtaken Germany as export world champion. Is that now a fact or not?
It's not really proven, but I think that the international statistics will show it at the end of the year, that indeed China will be the new export world champion. But I guess, nevertheless, that German exports will pick up again, and that in the next years, especially the German exporters, which are very competitive, that they will come back again.
So you think the main problem was just the global crisis, or are there any other hurdles? Have we relied too long on traditional old markets, traditional business ways of doing business? Is there anything we have to change?
Yeah, one point is true. The mass production will be not the future for the German industry. It will be the future for Chinese companies and Indian companies. For the German companies, it will be very necessary to be in front of the specialized products, and I guess they will do.
Well, there's a saying that says better a good copy than a bad original, and China certainly has taken that saying to heart. So what stops them from, let's say, also specializing and then selling it half price?
Yes, that's the question, really. If German business will be competitive in terms of the price, in terms of costs. But I guess that, for example, the wages in China will also increase during the next years, and also the exchange rate of the Chinese currency should be changed, and I expect that it will happen.
OK, so when, just briefly, do you think Germany will be world export champion again?
No, I don't think that this will be the case at any time again, because China is a much bigger country than Germany. But I guess we will be at the top three also in the next years.
OK, runners-up position then. Axel Nitschke, thank you very much for being here with us. Well, exports are vitally important for the German economy. Along with heavy-duty industrial products, Germany also exports consumer products all over the world. Do you use any? Our question this week. What German product couldn't you do without? Tell us. Just go to our website at dwworld.de/English/Made in Germany. That's all one word. Fill out our online questionnaire and you'll automatically qualify for our next draw, which is coming up soon. And the prize is this DVD, German Family Business. Looking forward to hearing from you. Now, last week we wanted to know from you, why do you work? Well, most of you work because they have to, and some also enjoy it. Chris Hoyt from Canada, for example, wrote that he found his job as a medical technician in the Canadian military very fulfilling, as he could make a difference to the lives of many soldiers and people in Canada, Germany, Rwanda, Bosnia, and most recently in Afghanistan. Now, thank you, Chris. I believe your service has ended now after 20 years, so I hope you will find some other equally rewarding occupation for yourself. I've already had 4 cups today, some of my colleagues even more. Perhaps it goes with the job, or perhaps we're all just typically German, because the average German drinks 148 litres of coffee a year. And that's more than mineral water and even more than beer. So what's so special about these dark brown beans brewed with boiling water that all other beverages cannot compete with? Let's follow the aroma of Germany's favourite drink.
Every second counts. These 20 kilos of raw coffee are being roasted at 200 degrees and turned into the fragrant dark brown beans we all know and love. Nathalie Prusse is supervising the roasting process, checking the temperature of the beans and that the color is as it should be. She even listens to the sound of the beans popping, thereby making sure that the 20 kilos of Columbia Supremo beans don't burn, which would give the coffee a bitter taste. The family business, based in Bremen, is 3 generations old.
We roast about 14 tons of coffee a year. What sets our company apart is the fact that we can also roast small quantities, which allows us to offer some unusual varieties. Our range and our gentle roasting process, which in a way is a very traditional roasting technique using a drum roaster, is what makes our coffee special. That's what our customers come for.
And they don't come just to buy coffee, but to get expert advice on how best to brew it. The customers can choose from over 50 different coffee varieties. The most expensive is the Indonesian Toraja, which costs more than 200 euros per kilo, a niche market that's growing fast. The company has plenty of loyal customers.
At the moment, I live in Frankfurt, but whenever I'm in Bremen, I come here for my coffee. I'm quite happy to spend a bit more on good quality coffee. Seeing as I've invested hundreds of euros in a very sophisticated espresso machine, I might as well put good coffee in it.
800 kilometers further south, sacks of raw coffee are arriving at the Dallmayr roasting plant in Munich. The buyer checks several truckloads of raw coffee every day.
We process about 20 or 30 tons a day. The coffee comes from pretty much all the important coffee-producing regions of the world. We like the Arabica coffees from Ethiopia a lot, because Ethiopia is the original home of coffee. In fact, we're the world's main buyer of this coffee.
20 to 30 tons a day. Coffee is roasted at Dallmayr in Munich from dawn till dusk. The roasting machinery fills an entire floor. The beans are roasted by a hot air stream, which goes faster than the traditional drum roaster process. It takes just 4 minutes to roast the beans, so up to 1.5 tons of coffee can be roasted by one machine per hour. The beans are stored in huge silos. Large-scale coffee companies like Dallmayr are benefiting from the current coffee boom, but because demand is growing all over the world, the cost of the raw coffee used for mass production is also climbing. That's bad news for the major producers. Commodity coffee is expensive, but raising the retail price isn't easy.
If you look back on the last 10 years, world consumption of raw coffee was down by almost 20%. Raw coffee is the main factor in coffee production, and if it gets pricier, then we need to raise our prices too. But the trouble is, coffee is the most popular beverage in Germany, and the supermarkets are always offering discounts to attract consumers.
Back in Bremen. When the small Munchausen coffee company has closed for the day, Nathalie Prusse likes to experiment with new varieties and check up on the day's production. She and her mother do everything by hand. Ilse Munchausen took over the family business from her father. Time to pack up the coffee roasted over the course of the day. Munchausen coffee is more expensive than supermarket varieties. The company's customers include small shops, restaurants, and private buyers from all over Europe.
And that wraps up this edition of Made in Germany. Thanks for watching. I'm Monica Jones in Berlin, and see you next time.